Hey everybody, what's going on? NGS back again, and it's time for vlog number 102. Sorry I've been AFK for a while. I've been focusing on some things out here in the real world. AFK, can I actually say that? Well, when you're away from the keyboard, you are away from the interwebs, and if you're away from the interwebs, you're away from YouTube. So, yeah, for once, something in my videos actually made sense, and it didn't require me going off a tangent for 3.5 minutes. Hey, it's 2013, and we're finally making progress. For how much longer, I don't know. So anyway, out here in the real world, outside of just chillaxing, enjoying, catching up on anime, finishing some video games, I've been job hunting. Yes, for the past couple of weeks, I've been filling out applications and going on interviews, and thankfully I can say that I have found employment. I'm going to be working at 2 jobs over the summer and the foreseeable future. Why work 2 jobs and not enjoy my summer vacation? Hey, and they gotta make some money, that's all I gotta say, and that's always a good thing. Now, it's not really that I just want to make money, which primarily is my main factor. There is something that I sort of miss about working. I've worked retail for almost 2 years. I worked in a grocery store where I handled, cashiering, making sure everything was right, inventory, all that stuff. And there was just something I missed about that. I don't know if it was just the people that I would just get so fed up and angry with that I had so many stories to come and tell my family as well as my friends, or if it was just the fact that I sort of liked getting out there and doing something as opposed to laying around and chillaxing, enjoying the summer vacation. It's weird though, especially when you just got a game like Fire Emblem Awakening where you're going to be losing a lot of your time to. I decided to go back to work. Well, anyway, so those 2 jobs over the summer, they're 2 part-time jobs averaging around 20 to 30 hours apiece. So I'm going to be working a foreseeable number of hours over the summer vacation, which is all great. I'm still going to have time to get on here, do videos, do streams, of course. But outside of that, I'm going to be definitely doing a lot more gaming-related stuff. I finished this up a while back, so you can expect a video discussing all things Dream Drop Distance with a good friend of mine, Dunty86. And this is going to have to take the back seat for a while because I have to lose my life to Fire Emblem. Never thought losing my life to something would sound so good. So good. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's move on to the pieces of information for this video. First on the agenda, is Atlus doomed? Is Atlus going bankrupt? Well, that's pretty much the headline that's been going on every single RPG-centric website. Now, stay calm, all my fans out there who love Atlus. Atlus, for those who are unaware, basically a publisher who makes great RPG series such as the Shin Megami Tensei and all the little, not so much spin-offs, but all the little strands like Persona in there, and they do stuff like Etrian Odyssey and so many other great titles. Their parent company, Index, has filed for bankruptcy, and while this story is still developing, we don't know the exact details of things that are going on. There was a lot of talk that there was some fraud going on, so they were cooking the books, crazy business mumbo jumbo like that. There is something to be scared about for fans of Atlus's titles, because Atlus, in the grand scheme of things, even though they make some of the most popular gaming franchises out there, they are still a very, very niche company as opposed to someone like Square Enix. The best case scenario is that Index Holdings, whether or not they get out of this bankruptcy, whether or not they find a way to make some money, is that they will auction off Atlus. Either Atlus will be sold to another company or Atlus will remain independent. It remains to be seen. If Atlus does get and it ends up being sold to another company, I would love for somebody like Namco Bandai to come in there and purchase them, pick them up, because Namco Bandai has been doing great on the RPG side of things. We've seen a lot more interest in the Tales titles. We got Ni no Kuni earlier this year, so if they were to bring on Atlus, that would definitely, enhance their RPG front, which I would love to see more of. Worst case scenario, they get picked up by someone like Square Enix and their Japan division. Good lord, Square Enix's Japan division does not need any more RPG makers. Why? Because they freaking ain't making any quality RPGs. Until now, anyway. Until now. But if they actually buy Atlus and they just get absorbed into the Square Enix conglomerate, their asses are going to be porting Final Fantasy games to the iPhone and the Android. No original titles are coming out there. Oh my god! That'd sure be horrible. Hopefully nothing bad happens to Atlus. Moving right on down the list, a new Dragon Ball Z game has been announced. And what nigga didn't know that? I want to meet the nigga that did not know that an annual Dragon Ball Z game would come out. Where is he? Where is he? Bring him to this location. Namco Bandai have revealed that Dragon Ball Z Battle of Z will be hitting store shelves this fall. Now, what is Battle of Z, you say? The best way I could describe this is that Battle of Z is sort of a spiritual successor to a game that came out in Japan known as Dragon Ball Z Zenkai Battle Royale. Zenkai Battle Royale was, I believe, an arcade cabinet game that focused very heavily on multiplayer functioning, multiplayer action when it came to the Dragon Ball Z franchise, which is something that you could see Namco Bandai has been focusing on with some of their recent games. With the advent of online and able to do stuff like that, we've seen a lot more multiplayer focused Dragon Ball Z games. One of their games that they recently released, Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi Tag Team on the PlayStation Portable, that was one game that did focus on having multiple characters on the screen fighting each other. And so I think that sort of is where they got the inspiration to continue on into doing those type of games. And I gotta say, from the screenshots and the gameplay trailer, it actually does look interesting. It looks like it'll be really fun in theory. That's the thing that you guys have to take away from some of these games, especially Dragon Ball Z, is that while it looks great in theory, until we see some concrete gameplay and hands-on where we can experience it for ourselves, it will just remain sort of up there as it could be good. So on that front, I think it's great. Zenkai Battle Royale is something that I have always wanted to come here, but considering that arcades really aren't as prolific as they were in the past, that was pretty much a no-go. And it's cool that they're not only incorporating some of the elements, but they're mixing it with past Dragon Ball Z games to give it sort of a familiar vibe. Now, there is something I want to address to a lot of the Dragon Ball Z fans out there, particularly of the games. When it comes to these games, Dragon Ball Z fans can never be satisfied. What do I mean by that? I'm talking about the amount of people out there who keep bitching, whining, complaining, and moaning that they want something new, yet they don't exactly specify what it is. Packagio Freed said it best. When it comes to the Dragon Ball Z fans, they're all freaking separated into different factions and different divisions, different camps. You have one camp that wants another Budokai game. You got one camp that wants a Tenkaichi game. You have one camp that wants HD remasters. And you have another camp that wants something completely different that we don't even know. It could be a motion game. It could be a competent online game. Not that piece of shit Dragon Ball Z Online. No, nothing will ever be satisfied. Why? Because these people do not know what they want. They can never come to an understanding and an agreement on what they want. So what does Namco Bandai do? They do the logical thing. They try to appeal to everybody. So they go ahead and do one of each genre. They make a game that's like Budokai with burst limit. That game was subpar, but it did have some good qualities to it. What did the fans do? They bitched about it. They go on to do Raging Blast, which sort of plays like Tenkaichi, but people bitched that the story was kind of lackluster. So what do they do with the second game? They refine the gameplay. They go ahead and take out the story. They put it in a quasi-arcade type thing where you can go through each individual character. That game was actually pretty fun. What did the fans do? They didn't appreciate the good things. They just bitched at everything else and automatically passed it off as suckage. They go ahead and do an HD collection, something people have been wanting for ages for the Budokai and the Tenkaichi games. They go ahead and do the Budokai HD collection. They bring together Budokai 1 and Budokai 3, the fan favorites from the series. What do people do? They bitch that Budokai 2 is not in there. The same Budokai 2 that people have been bitching about for a decade, that it didn't have the board game feature. Really people, the board game thing that you hated so much, they decided not to include that game in there and give you the first game and the third game. And then they complained that it didn't have online. And when Namco Bandai said that online would actually take us a lot of time to implement because it's not a brand new game, people bitched and said that it would wait too long for them to buy it. Then they go ahead and they do something completely different. What was the stuff that was completely different? Dragon Ball Z4 Connect. Motion controls, that is something completely different. And they utterly failed at that. You see, what I'm getting at in this situation is, people, it's nice that you want to see something new. I have gone on record countless times saying that I am sick and tired of a lot of these Dragon Ball Z games. You know, it's like, for every 3 Dragon Ball Z games, there's one I enjoy. Yet, what we're not doing is telling them what we want to see in these games. We're not telling them the things that they did right, so they can take those features and improve them for future installments. All we just say is pass them off as, it sucks, it's retarded, it's stupid, I'm not paying my money for this, yet they do pay their money for it in the end. They gave you Ultimate Tenkaichi, a character creator function. And instead of saying that, you know, some things were good about this game, but it was for the most part pretty bad, instead of saying some good things, everybody bitches and complains. Now, the difference with me is that when I want a Dragon Ball Z game done right, I want a fleshed out story mode. A fleshed out story mode that actually goes in depth with each and every arc of the story. A fleshed out story mode that actually takes attention to detail from every single fight. And then it would have a battle system that actually recreates the anime, which is what they're kind of doing with this one, which is why they're focusing heavily on the multiplayer side, because a lot of the fights in Dragon Ball Z, such as the Z Warriors versus Nappa, and Gohan, Krillin, Vegeta versus the Ginyu Force, those fights they have never really been able to accurately replicate because it was always a 1v1 style of things. Now you have multiple characters fighting and duking out at each other, seamlessly on the fly, this is a step in the right direction. But no, people are passing it off and they're going to bitch about it regardless. So Namco Bandai doesn't know what they want to do, which is why they keep digging themselves a bigger hole and they fall into this pitfall where some things in their game are good, but the majority is negative. If we don't step in there and actually tell them what we want to see and be realistic with some of our features, we're never going to get the quote perfect Dragon Ball Z game, as if that'll ever exist, because everybody has a different idea of what they want in a Dragon Ball Z game. We can only come to a happy medium. That is exactly what we can have. And then as time goes on, they'll maybe get towards the point of making the almost perfect Dragon Ball Z game. But it's not going to happen unless we get out there on Twitter, on Facebook, make a list, a laundry list of things we want to see. Things that would actually make sense. Now, the one thing that you have to give the Naruto guys, you have to give the people who play the store games, people who say that they don't like the store games because they suck and they're casual and all that BS, you have to at least admit that those people, when they see something wrong, they report it. When they see something they like, they report it. And who do they tell? The guys over at CyberConnect 2, which is why these games have been getting somewhat better. If you've been playing the titles, more good things are coming out of them than bad. Now that remains to be seen with Storm 3, because I have not played the game. From what I've been hearing, they did some good things, but they kind of fucked up on some other things. Which is why we're getting the rumored Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 3 Full Burst, which comes with the Edo Kage DLC apparently. If that thing actually exists, you know damn well sure that Namco Bandai and CyberConnect 2 are listening to the Naruto fanbase. When they get vocal and they tell you the things that you did right, improve on them. The things you did bad, lessen them. With Dragon Ball Z, we just can't get that at all. So what are we going to be in for? We're going to be in for mediocre Dragon Ball Z games. That's all we're going to be getting. That is all we're going to be getting. You see, people are assuming that this is a whole big business type deal where these companies don't listen to the consumers, but it is a totally different ballgame with some of these Japanese developers. It is a totally different ballgame with some of these smaller developers. So, you know, at the end of the day, people, Battle of Z looks great. I'll probably be picking it up, hopefully, depending on how good it turns out in the next couple of months. But for all the Dragon Ball Z fans out there, specify and know what in the world you want. None of this, something completely different. None of this, something completely different. Specify, bitches. Specify. And that's pretty much where we are going to end off this vlog for now. I wanted to talk about a lot of other things, but, you know, after doing that rant, I'm kind of in a semi-pissed off mood. Post your comments and video responses on what you thought of any of these news articles. What have you been doing over the course of the summer vacation? What games have you been playing? Like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter to read all of my constant life updates, from what I'm doing right now to the type of condiments that I'm putting on my sandwich. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. I'm NGS signing out, and like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.